Gosh, man. No more tomatoes in the meatloaf, Mom. Okay.
Mom! Meatloaf! Fuck!
Gosh, I'm live.
Trying to do business.
Anyways, guys, welcome back to another episode of Comfort and Chaos. And hey, as you can tell, team, we're a little looking spiffy today, because, we wanted to look a little more political because it's been a while since we've gotten into some of the political chaos. And as you know, it's out there, it exists. So we decided, hey, why not? Will already, this is part of his normal wardrobe, but I figured, hey, you know what? I'm going to join the train and we got to look more official as we go into some more official chaos.
Suit jackets and Ranger panties all day. That's
Hell yeah.
That's what I wear all day.
Hell yeah. Hey, that's literally what I got on right now, team. But I'm not going to show you the rest of the outfit because that's for a different platform. Anyways.
You know, guys, what else is all day?
What is that?
Buffalo Trace. It's what's for
that is
dinner.
Very true.
It's what's for after dinner. Sometimes, a working lunch. Sometimes breakfast. Who gives a shit?
It's election season, right? Isn't this like the perfect tool to kind of help you get through that election crazy chaos that
perfect Buffalo
is coming our way?
Weather. Yeah. And one of these days, Buffalo Trace, you will sponsor the show, and we will make it formal. But until then, we do have somebody who's kind of hooked us up and sponsored us a bit.
That's right. We do.
We sure do. Hey, you see these amazing flags behind us. These awesome, amazing flags. If you want this awesomeness, right? It can be completely customized, right? Like you want some comfort and chaos, you can get some comfort and chaos. You want, something else in there. You want, a fucking bullshit leg thing, right? Like you want some airborne wings. You want to be a man, fucking get airborne wings in there. You can put that in there.
Shit.
You want a certain tab. You want some short tabs. You want some long tabs. You want whatever the fuck it is you want.
What if I want a Christmas tree, Will? Just because
you know what?
Christmas.
The man can do a Christmas tree. I'm not sure if he can, but I'm fucking telling you that he can. So just tell him you want a Christmas tree.
Very talented guys.
If you want this amazing piece of art in your home, right? Up over the fireplace, up over the mantle, right? Bring that room together. Check out that link down there, handcraftveteran.etsy.com. Use that coupon code. Where is my discount? Where's my fucking discount? And you will get 10% off, right? It's veteran made, everything made in the USA. He will do it custom to how you want. Go hit this man up. Show some love, right? Veterans helping veterans. Awesomeness. Go hit him up. That is handcraftedveteran.etsy.com. Use that coupon code. Where's my discount? You get the hookup. Go check that shit out.
Hell yeah. Christmas around the corner, team. A great gift idea. Just saying.
Fact.
Just saying. All right, guys. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and welcome to the Comfort and Chaos team. Will, what do we got today? We got some political chaos to discuss, right?
Yeah, man. What are we, like 20 some odd days until election day, right? We're coming down to the wire, and it was an interesting week. It was a very interesting week to watch. What we saw this week was the Harris Walz campaign come out of the basement. And try and jump on all these media shows, which they've been heavily criticized for doing the same Joe Biden basement campaign that he ran during the last election. And it really, like he did it and it kind of pulled it off because the COVID pandemic was going off. So it was a different environment. And he kind of got away with it. Right. So she kind of been trying the same shit. And it wasn't really working. So she went on the full media blitz this week. Some real interesting things happened, man. Some real interesting thing happened. Let's take a quick look at some of the.
Let's see. What do we got here?
Yeah, let's take a look. This was old Kamala on The View.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
What you've taken on is extraordinarily difficult.
Howard Stern.
And I mean, do you feel the pressure of the moment in the sense that, like, when I met you out in the hall, I said, I'm really nervous because I want this to go well for you. I want it to go well for the country. Even when I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of. There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now. I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
I agree with you.
One of the old saws is they just want somebody they can have a beer with. So would you like to have a beer with me so I can tell people what that's like? Okay. This was... Now, we asked ahead of time because I can't just be giving a drink to the Vice President of the United States without asking. You asked for Miller High Life. You asked Miller High Life.
You really think
I'm just curious.
Kamala Harris drinks Miller High Life?
Last time I had beer
Not a
was
chance.
at a baseball game with Doug.
Okay, so cheers. There you go.
It's just so cringe. It's just so. I'm just gonna hold this face because it's just.
It's not authentic, right?
Yeah, that's what it's. I just want people to be real. I don't care. Just be real, be authentic, be genuine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man.
And so, right, she's been out there doing that, and it wasn't a great look. Not a great look at all. And interestingly, right, like she mentioned Doug, right? So she's talking about Doug Emhoff, her husband. Bunch of news came out about him this week as well. I don't know if you've heard any of that.
Ooh.
No, you didn't hear that one?
No, I didn't. Fill me in. What's up?
So apparently, well, this had already been released, right? So he knocked up the nanny during his prior marriage.
Okay.
Yep. So that happened. So then, this last week, it's kind of started trickling out, and mainstream media hasn't really been covering it all. And there's been no response from the campaign, from Doug Emhoff, from Kamala. They did kind of acknowledge the knocking up of the nanny thing. They were like, yeah, they gave some bullshit, political type answer to it.
Of course.
Shit happens. I'm not proud of it.
Too many tequilas. The nanny's here.
Right? Like,
Cam's gone for a week. I got needs.
Yeah. This is his prior marriage, not the current marriage, right? So
okay, yeah.
Then it comes out like, he worked at this law firm and was apparently like super, super sexist towards every female he could come around. He brought on this model who had zero background or experience. He had if you're cute and flirt with me, you get points, and if you don't, you get negatives, system at this law firm, right? So all that comes out, and multiple people have corroborated it that were from this law firm. And then it comes out that he tuned up his ex-girlfriend 10 years ago or something like that. I don't know how many years ago it was, but he smacked the crap out of her while they were overseas and beat her up. Also not a great look. And who was it was the North Carolina deputy governor. We did a show on him fairly recently. What was that dude's name? Richardson.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
The mainstream media have literally done articles on his wife. And they've just kind of been these bullshit fluff pieces of how could this woman be married to this man? And let's do a deep dive into her. But they won't do a deep dive into Kamala's husband, who apparently hits women allegedly, and has had like some significant like dirtbag type vibes.
Basically, dirtbag track record too.
Yeah,
other people can
dirtbag
vouch
track.
for.
Oh, that is beautiful. That
There
is
you go,
poetic.
dirtbag track record.
Dirtbag track record of just being kind of a shithead.
Here at Comfort and Chaos Team, we call those DTRs. All right,
DTRs.
He's got a DTR, you know, and they're out
Allegedly.
there. Allegedly, there's a DTR out on Doug.
So that's been one of the other interesting things to kind of come out. But I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes kind of kerfluffle that's going on right now. Did you see that?
I heard about it. I heard that it was actually before the edited version got released, or the actual unedited version was actually seemed like legit journalism and legit questioning. But I also heard there was an edited version. I don't know. You can correct me on this, Will, but that's what I heard.
So 60 Minutes, right? The part of her media blitz, right? The only real like potentially adversarial thing, right? She sat down with was on 60 Minutes. And they asked her some questions. And so some internet sleuths kind of caught this, right? There was like this pre-version that was kind of
I love the internet.
Right? Love the fucking internet.
Sleuth on.
Kind of kicked out, right? To like, hey, like tease up the episode, right? And then the episode airs, and they
Yeah.
quite match up. So some smart folks kind of start putting some stuff together.
Ooh.
It looks like some very suggestive editing. I wonder why, like, this mainstream media would do such a thing. So let's.
They wouldn't do that. Come on, man. The media.
Yeah, let's take a look here.
We're talking unbiased
It seems
journalism.
that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Do we have a real close ally in Prime Minister Netanyahu?
I think, with all due respect, the better question is, do we have an important...
Oop. Killed. It died. So that was that word salad.
I mean, you can already hear.
Like, I award you no points. We are all dumber for having listened to the incoherent ramblings.
I've been seeing that meme go all over the place. Hey, I'll just tell you straight up. Since her, since her style of answering questions, hey, I've gone through a lot more meetings during the day. A lot easier now. I don't need to be as prepared as I used to.
Right.
If I walk into that late meeting, it's like, hey, that's a great question, sir, and I appreciate the time and the opportunity for me to answer. Let me go ahead and start off by saying this, though. When I was born back in Las Cruces, New Mexico, wanted to engage myself in that situation because I knew that's the only way we can be resilient in life. And I really appreciate this opportunity. Next question, please.
Yeah, so they had originally aired that word salad, and then when the episode aired, right? And it was the same question. It was a very coherent, like they chopped like 30 seconds out of that and another answer, and then smashed them together and put it in there. We're like, yeah, it was like, we've executed this plan, and Netanyahu, da 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 da. And it was very short, like, and they edited out all this shit. So now there's a huge like call from obviously the Republicans and the Trump campaign and anybody who's a decent journalist, right? Is like, hey, where's the rest of that interview? Like, where's the full transcript of what was discussed? And CBS is kind of like, no, I was raised a middle class. I was raised a middle class kid. CBS, like, where's the interview? I was raised a middle class kid. Like, what the fuck? you goddamn clowns. Like, how is this journalism?
Yeah.
Like, how could you wake up in the fucking morning and look in the mirror and be like, I'm a journalist? like,
I mean, you really can't. I mean, that's why you see podcast industry has grown to what it is, because there's no more, you can't trust the media now. There's no journalism really anymore. It's all propaganda, or it's one-sided, There's no more in the middle. The middle doesn't exist anymore, and this goes for both sides. Like, you're either one side or the other. There's no middle. There's no middle ground anymore, And to me, and that's my opinion, but that's just what I've seen. I just see that trend. And that's why guys like Joe Rogan, all these big podcasters, because they will have people from both sides and they have those conversations. And just, it's the conversation to understand things and learn and share points and then move forward. And then that's it. Like,
yeah. I mean, Matt Taibbi, by no means a right-wing guy. Like, he's a left-wing, for the most part, journalist, right? Previously worked for left-wing outlets, now on Substack. Like, you can find some pretty amazing journalists still on Substack,
without a doubt,
cruising around, right? Like, that have just they see, right? They woke up and looked in the mirror and were like, this is fucked. And they're leaving, right? There's a reason why mainstream media has zero trust in it, right? And it's amazing to watch, right? The downfall of the mainstream media outlets, right? I mean, they're literally just falling apart at this point.
And you know what blows my mind, Will, is so clearly, and I've used this example. So you saw the dude who's interviewing her, right? On that 60 Minutes. Like, that guy, so I'll be real. That guy looks like he's been in the business for a long time. Yeah. Like, he looks like he probably started as as an intern back when he is his low 20s. He looked like he's in his 60s now. Like, that guy's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
He's the ones I want to talk to, because I'll be like, dude, I'm just curious. Have you noticed a shift in the way you have to conduct your journalistic work from the time you started to now? Like, I would love to interview those people, because they're the ones who've been in it for a minute, and they've probably seen the gradual shift in the way they journal. They do their journalistic production.
Yeah.
I would think at that point, like, guys like that, obviously I'd be like, man, I'm just curious. Is this what you joined in, when you first got into journalism?
I think a lot of these folks believe they're actually doing God's work. Like, I think that in their heads, right, instead of being neutral, instead of presenting both sides, instead of questioning the narrative, right, and actually looking into and doing honest reporting, right, they have allowed this bias, very clear bias, to inflict their way of reporting, right? Like, if you're telling me, right, like, if I go to Fox News, I know what bias I'm getting. It's clear, right? Like, you're getting a right-wing spin. If I turn on MSNBC, I am very clear on what bias I am getting, right?
Yep.
But when you start talking about ABC, CBS, NBC, right, like, I feel like, right, those organizations, NPR, right, that's a fucking, that takes tax dollars, and all of them have just went and just down the Kamala Harris fucking train tracks, right up Tim Walz's asshole, like, just working it for all that it can, instead of having honest, realistic discussions and looking at policy and looking at hey, what did that administration do for the last 4 years, and why do we have this gigantic immigration crisis, and why, they don't even ask. They don't even ask.
No,
the
they
question,
don't,
man.
They don't ask. And I feel like, I mean, it even if it wasn't Kamala and it wasn't Tim Walz, it would be somebody else.
Yeah, 1,000%.
It's not even just them. It could be anybody, but because it's part of that affiliation or that group, that is what they're mandated. It legit feels like they're mandated. Like they don't have a choice.
It's a tribe.
It's
a tribe. And if you are not in with the tribe, you're off the bus. And you are blacklisted. You are, you're excommunicated from the cult. And free thinking is not allowed. And here, right, it got worse for CBS this week. I don't know if you saw this one. Did you see the Ta-Nehisi Coates interview?
No.
Okay, so do you know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is?
No, fill me in.
Okay, so he's this author. Basically, he, America is in this man's eyes inherently racist. Every white person is racist. America is the great devil. Like this dude has, and somehow post the George Floyd riots, and that man's killing, this dude somehow becomes like famous. I don't understand why. He wrote this book back years ago that basically it was to me, it was a weird book. I'll sum it up. He's in New York with his kid. They're riding an elevator and they're getting off the elevator, and this white lady basically moves the kid out of the way. Again, like downtown New York, right? Like everybody's an asshole.
Yeah.
This white lady moves his son out of the way, like puts hands on his son, moves him and gives him a little attitude. And so he says, I could look into this person's eyes and knew every white person in the fucking world is racist. And that was basically the book. And I think he also, threw in there like, hey, I felt nothing on 9/11 because our country is this terrible place and racist and right. Like that's the bullshit that this guy peddles.
Yeah.
In, right. Like he peddles in fucking everybody's a piece of shit. If you have a certain skin color, you're oppressed. And if you have a certain skin color, you are an oppressor, and therefore you're a fucking piece of shit. That's the bullshit that this guy peddles in. So he writes a new book, and this one he's going to dive into Israel Palestine. Cool. Very good. So he travels over there. He runs around for a minute and comes back. He knows like this dude, he breaks everything down to like it's either you're an oppressor or you're the oppressed. Like that's this guy's shtick, right? He's full of shit. So he goes on CBS, right? And one of the journalists there, his prior marriage, he was married to a Jewish woman, and he's got 2 kids and his ex-wife currently live in Israel, right? So he's got a little bit different spin on it, right? Like, hey, this is a complex issue. It's not as easy as that. And so, I don't know. We'll take a look at like his interview on CBS. Is kind of interesting. He kind of, comes at him a little bit.
To say when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist.
So this guy kind of goes right like at him, like, hey man, like,
Yeah.
are you fucking for real? Like, you kind of left out a ton of stuff, right? So get this. This is where it gets even more interesting. Right. So in a staff call on Monday, CBS News chief Wendy McMahon and her deputy said several journalists in the company had reached out to them about that specific interview. Their response was, there are times we have not met our editorial standards. And citing, his name was Doku. I don't know that guy's name. It's real hard to pronounce. Citing his interviews and other comments made by CBS personnel that she did not identify. They said CBS News is built on a foundation of neutrality. It's our job to serve the audience without bias or perceived bias. And she said that problems had been addressed, but neither that she or CBS explained what that meant. What that meant was they had a DEI guy have to sit down with that journalist for hours to explain to him why he shouldn't have asked those questions to that man. And right.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is an internal call that this is happening with like all of the CBS folks, right? This is their head news chief like, on a call with all of their news folks, right? So she told staff members on the call that she expected its contents would remain confidential, but the tape of it was posted within hours to the free press.
Of course.
Right. So then, right, Sherry Redstone, who's the outgoing head of Paramount, right, who owns CBS, expressed support for that journalist and said, hey, I think we made a mistake. We shouldn't have questioned his journalistic standards, and he should be asking those questions. Later, the CBS network president and CEO, George Cheeks, issued a supportive statement for Wendy McMahon, who's the news boss of CBS, and was involved in criticizing that interview. Management then received pushback on the call, right? So during that call, Jan Crawford, who's the chief legal correspondent for CBS, said that, hey, man, it's a journalist's obligation to ask tough questions when somebody comes on the air to present a one-sided view. I don't see how we can say that we failed to meet our editorial standards, Crawford said. And she was worried that it might make other interviewers think twice when they're conducting their interviews, right? So all of that basically internal to CBS is a complete dumpster fire. They're all fighting each other right now. And you've got folks that are like, hey, man, we're supposed to be fucking journalists. We're supposed to ask tough questions. This dude comes on to our news program and has this completely one-sided view.
Yeah.
And then we're not supposed to question that. Like, we're not supposed to ask tough questions like of a guy who's basically throwing an entire religion, an entire nation under the bus. Like, we're not supposed to ask that.
Exactly.
And then it gets even fucking worse. Ta-Nehisi Coates goes on Trevor Noah, and they're discussing this, right? Who's I never was a fan of Trevor Noah. But so he comes on and basically kind of lets the cat out of the bag, basically admitting that Gayle King, who's the interviewer to the right,
in the middle.
So that was in the middle, had fed Ta-Nehisi Coates all of her questions in advance. Right? Like, you're supposed to be a fucking journalist. You're supposed to be able to ask questions. And you fed all of your questions.
Good job, CBS.
Oh, man. It is not a good week to be at CBS. Like I said, man, like you see it in the ticker, right? Like, worse week than a PFC who lost their nods in the field. Like,
and that's a bad week.
That's a bad week, man.
That's
They're
a
having
bad week for
It's
everybody.
just showing, right, the nonstop media bias towards one side. Like, hey, you want to question Trump and all the dumb shit he says on a regular basis? Please. Like, you already do it. Great. Let's have that discussion. Now let's have the discussion and compare and contrast the other dumpster fire who can't fucking fucking sentence.
Just let that be the standard.
Right.
Like, that's what a standard is. It shouldn't be selective, you know. It should be across the board for everybody.
Right. If you
You
are
know?
if you claim, right, Fox News, very clear, like what their bias is. MSNBC, very clear what their bias is, right? But if you're trying to claim that you're a neutral outlet and then you pull this shit, like it's very clear.
You're no
like,
longer neutral.
You're not a neutral outlet.
The integrity is now
You're in
compromised.
yes. And you have shown your bias. And then you are trying to pretend like it's not there.
Damn.
And it seems like it potentially has backfired. It really has.
I mean, we'll see what comes up of this.
Well, you look at some of the polls after this week that are starting to trickle in, and a lot of these are starting to have Trump up and Harris underneath him, right? And if it is even right now, we are almost dead even in a lot of these battleground states, right? We're margin of error. And when you look at the historical trends of how Trump is pulled, right? He has almost always been underpulled, right? So they are not hitting the Trump voters, and they are not getting to the folks that are saying, yes, I will vote for that man, right? So if they are dead even, and the historical trend, right? Trend analysis, check that shit out. Is continuing to hit, right? Like she is completely fucking underwater and they don't even know it yet. And I think they're starting to kind of realize it and starting to panic. And it's kind of interesting to watch. And that's in part, why they came out on this media fucking blitz that they did.
And they should. Let everybody know that there's at least some accountability being taken. You know, at least they're addressing it. Not saying anything's going to come out of it. I mean, we'll see. But I did see, it does make sense though, especially that trend analysis, like you're saying, because I did see recently, I know President Barack Obama actually came out and was like basically doing a plead.
Yeah.
For voters.
He wasn't just pleading for voters. He was pleading for black male voters.
Exactly.
Right. He was pandering to a race saying, if you are this race, you should be voting for this person.
Exactly.
And leaving out so much of the context behind it, which, hey, you're a Democrat, you're going to like, right? If I would expect the same thing to come out of a Republican's mouth. But basically saying like, hey, like, because she is underwater, like, and you look at the percentage of African-American males that are now starting to swing to the right and vote for Trump, right? He by no means is taking the majority percentage, but if he's stealing 8 to 10 points away, and he's still underwater with that demographic, but he's stealing like 8 to 10 points away from Kamala Harris, right? Like that's a huge shift.
Yeah.
It's a massive shift.
Yeah. And it's like you said, I mean, obviously they must know some stuff that's not being put out there. You know, they got a lot of smart people on their staff that are analysts and, statistics managers and everything. And their job, literally, that's their sole job, is just to do all the math and crunch the numbers and get the data. And they're probably just saying, hey, we're not looking too good. We need to do this. We need to do this.
Yeah.
So who can we get out there? But
they can't understand why their message is not resonating. Specifically with like men. Like, you talk the male demographic, the Harris Walz campaign is completely underwater. Completely underwater. Why? Well, in large part because what is the only real policy that the Democrats are running on right now that where they are winning they're winning the decision point? It's abortion. That's it. That's the only real policy point where they're not completely underwater. They're underwater on the economy. They're underwater in crime. They're underwater in immigration. They're you name it. For the most part, it's not going well for them.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's still going to be a close one, Will. And I'm still going to bust out the Buffalo Trace, and it's going to be a night. That's for sure.
Yeah,
around the corner.
I say we do a live show on election night. What do you think?
Hey, let's do it. I'm down. Guys. Comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. You want us to do a live show? Comment. Let us know. Let us know.
On election night.
We'll bust out the Blazers. We'll
hang out. We'll hang out all fucking night and shoot the shit and just kind of go over. We'll check in and see who's winning and bring you the commentary and have a good night together. And everybody can join us on that one.
Hell yeah.
But going back to the underwater on mail thing, right? So Walls comes out this week. I don't know if you saw this.
Oh, let's see it.
To show how much of a dude he is. He is the ultimate dude.
Solid dude.
Let's go hunting with Tim Walls. Let's go. Let's join Tim Walls.
Hey, Tim.
Nice
little, what's that, 22 gauge?
It's quite right. Never fits quite right.
Watch.
It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of traps.
It's a 12 gauge.
Because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
I don't know if you saw, that's not how you load a fucking shotgun. I don't know what kind of shotgun that dude has ever loaded. That's not how you do it.
He's probably going for a single shot.
I don't know how much shotgun you've ever shot, but if you've ever hunted with a shotgun or been around hunters or shot a fucking shotgun at any point in time in your fucking existence, that's not how you do it. And he's sitting there struggling his dick off trying to load a fucking shotgun to show how much of a dude dude, it's so cringe. So there's more to that video.
I'm sure.
Him walking around talking about how he's a hunter and how he's done his pheasant hunting and da-da-da-da. He's clearly on a fucking loaded field. I've hunted like that before, on a loaded field. Cool. Whatever. I wouldn't call it hunting. It's target practice, I guess. Yeah, it's a buffet.
It's a hunting buffet.
It's like a buffet, but more what's that place? The melting pot where you got to cook it yourself. You know what I mean? You're gonna do everything yourself, but it's still a fucking buffet.
Hell yeah.
And so he's just running around trying to be a dude, right? And it's not working, man. It's not. Anybody worth their salt is just ugh. What the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? What? Ew, brother. What is that? Get the fuck out of here, man. What are you doing? Clown town? Again,
at least he had the right PPE.
Not authentic. Yeah, he did. Not authentic, right?
No, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us can agree. I mean, there's just so much that's just not authentic. There's definitely not. When it comes to their interviews, their speeches, it just doesn't, everything's just so scripted, It doesn't seem like it's authentic at all. And it's dude, just be yourself. Ma'am, just be yourself.
But they can't.
That's but at least just be yourself. Who cares if you're gonna fail? Just be yourself.
They're fucking crazy people. They are weird, man. They're weird. They're fucking crazy weird, right?
I'm weird too. I like being weird.
I'm wearing, dude. I'm fucking wearing shorts and a fucking
But we
suit
own it
jacket.
though. That's what I'm saying. Like we own it.
Correct,
You know,
correct.
we own it. You know.
Yes. Like, okay, man. Like, cool. Like, we can be weird together. Like, that's great. Like, but I'm gonna tell you at least like what I legitimately think. I'm also, I guess, not running for office because if I told you what I legitimately think, I wouldn't be running for office. But like, come on, man. Like, they can't tell you what they really think because their belief system is so fucking wild compared to the majority of Americans, right? It wouldn't do well in a large, cross state, cross party, draw in independence election, right? You can win inside of those, like, hey man, like, you want to go run and spin that shit in San Francisco? Have at it, dude. You're gonna fucking win. Like, good for you. Go up to Portland, where they legalized every fucking drug on the planet, and then they figured out, oh God, like increase homelessness, increase ODs. There's open air drug markets on the ground, like all that shit. And now they basically have fired everybody inside their local government, and there's like 83 people running for fucking mayor or office right now in Portland, like because they basically have just fired fucking everybody. And the majority of folks have shifted from that super far fucking left, and they're trying to get back at least the middle ground. Like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't legalize fentanyl on the street. That's probably a bad fucking idea. Let's not do that, right? That's the fucking people we're talking about. And if it's not, at minimum, at some point they've been running off that platform, and they have not convinced at least fucking me that they are not that fucking crazy person.
Yeah, I totally agree. And now we just got to see how the rest of America agrees and see what they think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man.
It is. And we're going to find out. We're going to see.
We are fucking around. We are.
Either way, I know. Either way, I know there's going to be some robots to worry about, so that's more my concern. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, check one of the previous episodes. We talk about this, but yes, the robots are coming. So,
I love you, Elon.
Well, guys, hey, we won't waste too much of your time here. Comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know. I want to know what your thoughts are on the election. How do you think it's going to go? Do you think the day is just going to be completely chaos, or do you think it's going to be actually it's going to sway one way and it's going to be a simple decision? I want to know your thoughts. Hey, I want to know your thoughts on shotguns. Hey, if you understand, hey, if he did it right, if Tim did it right, hey, I'll openly admit, and I'm sure Will had no problem saying, hey, okay, we were wrong. Apparently, that is the way you do that special shotgun. I don't know.
No.
Will.
No. No.
Either way, guys, don't hesitate. Please comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And then, like we also said, hey, if you want one of these beautiful flags that you see behind us here, handmade, handcrafted, solid wood, American made, veteran owned and veteran produced, definitely Christmas is around the corner, guys. The links will be in the description. Use that discount code. Where's my discount? And secure yourself a nice little gift, either for yourself or for a loved one. Tis the season. Tis the season. All right, Will, what do you got for the team?
Let's see. Mariah Carey is starting to thaw, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Did you just rhyme? Did you plan that?
I did not.
All right, guys. Hey, we'll see you on the next episode. Out.